Ecclesiastes 5:14. And those riches are lost in a bad venture, for when he begets a son, there is nothing in his hand. You know, this world truly has nothing to offer us. Only Christ does. This world's riches pass away, but God is forever. 2 Corinthians 1:8 through 11. For we would not, brethren, have you ignorant of our trouble which came to us in Asia, so that we were pressed out of a measure above the strength, insomuch that we despaired even life. You know, pressed, burdened. They were burdened. This church knew they were burdened. This church had its own problems, but they cared what was happening to Paul and the others. They had a concern past their own. And when we have Christ, we care for others. We have a concern. We can't stop with our problems and ask them about theirs. And that's what they were doing. Paul knew that this church had concern for him. Paul knew that they needed to hear the truth about what went on. Not being like, well, things are okay. No, they wanted details because they cared for Paul. He was their brother. We should, as Christ, display relationship to others. That we care for them. That we want to know how they're doing. And that they can depend on us. Paul knew that with this church. We also need ourselves to have people like Paul had this church, to where we can go to when we're in stress. People that, regardless of whether we tell them, we already know they're praying for us. Verse 9. But we had sentence of death in ourselves, that we should not trust in ourselves, but in God, which raises the dead. They were extremely distressed. They wanted to die. But they knew that if they did, the work they were doing for the Lord would stop. They knew that for them not to die, God was still going to use them. They knew that they may have actually been sentenced to death by others. They knew that God was going to bring them out if He still wanted to use them. They knew that God had the power, more power than their own will, more power than other men's will. God was in control. And if it was His will for them to continue serving, they knew they would be continuing serving. But imagine being in a deep state of grief like that, to where you don't know if you're going to live, you don't know if you're going to die. But what Paul and the others knew is if they lived, they had the Lord. If they died, they still had the Lord. So either way, it's Him who is. Verse 10. Who delivered us from so great a death, and does deliver, in whom we trust, that He will yet deliver us. Paul knew that He was the ultimate deliverer. He was the one that could overcome death. The only one that can defeat death. He's the one that gives life. He's the one that is all powerful. And they knew that He would deliver them. It wasn't their time yet. They still had work for the Lord. He knew that He delivered them. Now, this isn't saying that if we believe God's going to deliver us, because it may be our time. Paul eventually would die. But it's saying that our faith is in Him, regardless whether we die or delivered. Ultimately, Paul knew that, yeah, he may have been in prison, he may have had these people, but ultimately he wasn't in their hands, he was in the hands of the Lord. Verse 11. You also helping together by prayer for us, that for the gift bestowed upon us by the means of many persons, thanks may be given by many on our behalf. You know, Paul gave thanks to him. Paul was grateful. You know, we need to tell our brothers and sisters in Christ that are there for us. Thanks. We need to know that, let them know that we appreciate them, that we care for them. In return, Paul did this. Paul would not necessarily just tell everybody how he was doing, but Paul had a special bond with this church because they cared for Paul. It wasn't everyday talk for Paul. Paul didn't come out saying, how are you? And they asked Paul, how are you doing? Well, I was dealing with it. He didn't tell everybody that. Nobody's that open, not even Apostle Paul. But he had a special bond with this church. Those that we have a special brotherly bond with, like deep. There's our brothers, and then there's our brothers we're really connected to, the ones that God put in our walk for us and us for them. Not all the churches, you know, all the church has a purpose, but sometimes, yeah, they're brothers and sisters, but sometimes their purpose has nothing to do with us. It simply has to do with Christ. This is our purpose. But Paul and his church were connected beyond just both serving Christ. That may be where it started, but they were not just brothers. They were friends. You know, you don't choose your family, but you do your friends. And Paul chose this church, and he wanted them to know, I appreciate you.